Welcome back to my new video. This is Motion Designer from themotindesigners.com, and in today's lesson, you'll be learning how to create a liquid text animation just like this. Alright, let's create a new composition, and I'll size it down to 500 by 500 pixel and rename this splash, and we're gonna create that liquid animation inside this comp. Select the pen tool, disable the stroke, and enable the fill to white color. Click once and click down and drag the mouse so that you have a curvy line like this. Hold down Alt on the keyboard and grab this handle. Move it up so that you have a handle like the other. You can close the stroke by clicking on the first point. Without releasing the mouse button, you can just drag it so that you have a smooth curvy line. You can readjust the points anytime, and you can adjust the handles so that you have a perfect shape. Once you're done with that, you can grab the pen behind tool and move the anchor point to the center, so that if you scale it, it scales from the center like this. Hit S on the keyboard to bring up the scale. Hold down Shift and hit P to bring up the position, and while holding down Shift, you can hit R to bring up the rotation. Set a keyframe for the position and rotation at the beginning of the timeline. Move forward to 1 second and move the shape to the right side, something like this. Alright, let's refine the path of this animation by clicking on the points and adjusting on the handles by dragging it in and out. As you can see what I'm doing here, you can just drag and move it around and adjust the path of your animation. This is what our animation looks like with only 2 keyframes. We're going to animate the rotation like this at the beginning of the keyframe, and go to 1 second and readjust this, and all you have is this. Select all the keyframes, hit F9 for easy ease, or right click keyframe assistant, easy ease. Now go to the graph editor. If you have a graph like this, you can change it to the speed graph so that you have a graph just like mine. So select all the points, and we're gonna adjust these curves. Make sure you spend some time in this graph if you want your animation to look professional. Now that we have our final animation, let's go back to the normal timeline and let's animate the scale. Go 5 frames by hitting page down and set a keyframe for the scale. Go back to the first frame, set it to 0, and go to the last frame. Hit page up 5 times to bring back 5 frames. Set a keyframe. Go 5 frames by hitting page up. Set that keyframe, and the last keyframe should be at 0. Select the keyframes of the scale. Hit F9 for easy ease. Go to the graph editor and you can change the graph speed, something like this. Now that I have all the animation, I'm going to duplicate this comp in the project, which is a splash 1 composition. Ctrl D to duplicate. Go inside this, and I'm going to change the path of this animation so that you have a different look. I'm not going to show you each and every steps here. I think you got the idea how to change this. So you go ahead and change that, and I'll be right back after this. Now you have that animation. Go and create a new composition, which is a 1920 by 1080 comp, and change the composition name to final comp and hit OK. grab the text tool and type in your desired text. I'm going to type this, change the color, collapse this, and go to animate and select position. Double click on this animator one, and I'm going to rename it to initial position. Change the values of the Y to around 250 and duplicate the initial position by hitting Ctrl D or edit, duplicate, and rename this to position 1. Collapse this position 1 and change the values back to a -250 or higher. Remember, we are trying to simulate a bouncy text, so we want a slight higher than the initial position so that it goes up and comes back down smoothly. Now let's animate the offset values from a -100 to 100 from frame 1 to 1 second. Now let's go down to advanced and change this shape to ramp down, and you have this. Also adjust ease high and ease low values to 80 and 25 respectively. Let's go back and select position 1 and duplicate this and rename it final pose. Let's collapse this and change this Y position to around maybe 50. Also, let's offset the keyframes, which is page down 5 times, and select both the keyframes and shift it to 5 frames, and you have this smooth animation. Let's go ahead and add an opacity of 100 to the final pose, and opacity of 0 to the initial pose, and also add an opacity of 100 to the pose 1. Alright, now that we have the text animation done, let's move ahead and create the liquid reveal by creating a new solid, and choose the color, hit OK, and make it bigger than the composition. Selecting on the solid layer, grab the pen tool and draw a wave, something like this. Once you're done with this wave, you can hit M on the keyboard to bring up the mask and change from add to subtract. Let's change the position of this to the left bottom, and we're going to animate from the left bottom to the right top. Set a keyframe for the position and move forward few frames and change the position to the top right. Make sure you cover up the entire text. Select the text layer and duplicate it by hitting Ctrl D or edit, duplicate, and drag the solid layer just below the text, and offset the timing of the solid layer to maybe around 20 frames, and change this track matte to alpha matte. Once you're done with that, create a background for the composition to your desired color, and after you create that background, you can drag in this liquid splash and animation that you have created earlier. You can reposition it anywhere around the text. You can duplicate it and rotate or scale up or scale down. You can even change the color by adding a fill or a radial ramp or a linear ramp. That's how simple it is to create a text animation in After Effects. Make sure to check out these 2 videos as well. Thanks a lot for watching. This has been Motion Designer from themotindesigners.com, and I will see you in my next video.